I want to welcome the GMs and the wives, the godly men and the warm, inviting, feminine, empathetic women out there. Now, in today's video topic, and for those that are just joining, my name is Thaddeus, and this is the Regal Change YouTube channel. And we just launched the school community for the Regal Change Academy. If you want to learn more about how to level up in the community and engage with like-minded individuals, click in the description box below and the URL for Regal Change Academy to learn more. Now, in today's video topic, I want to talk about how you butchered, or someone else that you know butchered something good, and they did it for something better, but now they ended up with something worse. So this might have happened to you. This might have happened to somebody that you know. This might have happened to an array of different kinds of individuals out there. We've all made choices where we didn't necessarily realize the true depths of the consequences of our actions until the consequence itself presented itself. And keep in mind that consequences does not always mean something inherently negative, but it does mean that there are going to be side effects to each of our actions. And it is the case that there are an array of people out there that genuinely believe that your choices and your actions dictate how they ought to feel about their lives. And although this isn't always going to be a healthy mindset, it is going to be the case for a lot of different people out there. So, look, you might have been someone that you or someone that you know were in the middle of a relationship or a business partnership or whatever it is, and you had something good. You know, you were strolling along, you were doing the thing, but you this person kind of got a little greedy. They got a little greedy with what they wanted and what they think and what they thought they could get. And so what did they do? They felt the need to be right and to prove themselves right. So they decided to end things with you or whatever the situation was, and now they're going off to find something better because they think that there's something better out there. I cannot tell you how many times within the last few years, specifically in the last year and a half or 2 years, that women have come back into my life after I was rejected years and years ago. And now that they see me when I'm nearly 50 pounds lighter, and I've got a few things going for myself, okay? I've got a couple irons in the fire, and I've got a good amount of experience life-wise to become the kind of person that actually values wisdom and that actually values experience and that doesn't take stuff for granted. And now that they've realized, oh snap, you know, this is just an example, but there's so many different kinds of situations with like friends or like the narcissist, when the narcissist comes back and tries to hover to try to see if you're still kind of on the hook or the trauma bond or whatever. This is not any kind of person that you want to be involved with long term. And the reason being is because this person ultimately is using you. And you, of course, understand this. That's why you walked away. That's why you walked away. And so you understood that it's not acceptable and you will not tolerate being treated like a doormat or like an ATM machine or anything of the sorts, or just a object for like a dildo, you know, like a real life dildo. You're not that kind of person. You're not that kind of person at all. And you said no. And now that you have standards, now that you have, golly, I'll tell you what. It's one thing to have standards as a woman nowadays, but man, to have standards as a man, it's like you just get so demonized. It's insane. And the women get so upset with you sometimes because you're not giving them attention, or you actually don't want her anymore, or you just say, look, I don't think we're compatible. And all of a sudden, hell is frozen over. Oh my gosh. But I don't have a. Here's the thing. And here's the reason why I don't have a lot of sympathy for women that talk about where all the good men have gone or whatever. Because for every good man that is gone from that woman's life, she screwed up another good man's life. That's what I've seen. And so all of the women that actually say, where have the good men gone? That's where they've gone. They've gone somewhere else. Because there are actually warm, inviting, feminine, empathetic women out there that have actually been raised to be wives, and that are actually young, fertile, feminine women that us men that have worked our butts off in the trenches for years actually want. We don't want someone that has been playing around in the community for everybody to see, or you're just, you're basically a walking brothel. Who wants to be that guy that when you are married to some woman and you go over to anywhere in public and this guy is giving your woman the look like, oh, do you still want it? Like, do you still want it? Like, no, you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the guy that people laugh at. No. And all the women out there, for all the men, and look. I take abuse very seriously. I think abuse is something that we do need to discuss for sure. However, for all of the talk that women say, well, what if he was abusive? And when I actually hear some of the stories that women in my community, and not the women that I've done consultations with, but there was one or two of women that I did consultations with where I had to set them straight. But for the most part, the women that I've done consultations with, they've actually had abuse happen to them, like legitimate trauma. And you can tell the difference, okay? You can tell the difference between somebody that is actually traumatized and that actually wants to get better, and then someone that's just trying to play the victim. Now, to the unkeen eye, to the unobservant eye, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. And so I think it's so insulting for all of the men and women out there that are claiming abuse of any kind, emotional or physical. And it's insulting to those people that are actually going through abuse or that are actually going through some kind of form of trauma and they're healing from that. It's ridiculous. All of this is going to say, though, that yes, you're going to be in a position where now the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Well, at least you see that they're in that position. You see that they're in the realization that, oh, snap, the grass isn't greener on the other side. And this is one of the reasons why most of these kinds of people that have the grass is greener on the other side mentality, most of these people always need to be right, or they always need to have their image in a certain light. They have to have their reputation in a certain light. They can't let any possible, like they have to worry so much about what other people think of them that even just the thought of other people finding out who they really are is detrimental to their ego and to their fragility and to everything that they actually don't stand for, because they stand behind walls of falsehood. They stand behind masks of disingenuous lack thereof truth. They don't have truth. Their souls are disgusting and filthy. And they may be super attractive on the outside, because a lot of narcissistic type of individuals are really attractive. But you are around them and it's like this ocean of negative emotion. It's just a vortex of negativity, and even just being around them makes you feel sick. I know there's been people, even to this day, when I'm at the grocery store or something and I'm walking by certain people, I can just feel their energy. And I've gotten to the point to where I can read energy pretty good. I can't always tell when people are straight up lying, but when the energy's off, I know the energy's off. Like, I know the energy's off. I can't tell if somebody's lying off the break, but even though I do have a pretty good BS and lie detector, I can't immediately tell if somebody's lying, but I can always tell when the energy is a bit off. And so even when I'm walking at the store or at the gym or the coffee shop or wherever, I can just tell if their energy is just not quite right. And so even just within my own self, like if there's any of the slightest bit of misalignment, I go into monk mode immediately, and I go internally and I immediately look at where I'm doing, like what I'm doing, where I'm doing it, and how I'm feeling about what I'm doing, and then naming the emotions appropriately and identifying where they're at in my body and any kind of images that come to mind to help me discern more about what's actually going on in this system. Because I've had, for example, with one of the narcissistic individuals that I was living with nearly 4 or 5 years ago, one day he came home from work and I was making dinner, and I could just feel when he walked in that the energy was off, and I didn't know what it was exactly, but in my mind, I received this image. And for anybody that has had consultations understands that this sometimes happens when people will say something or do something, and I'll get like an image in my mind of the spiritual realm. And this was one of the first times that happened. This guy came home from work and I was making dinner, and immediately when his energy came in, I saw a tornado in my head. I saw a tornado moving around, and then I saw a rat taking emotional coins from me. That was a very weird image because I was like, well, wait a second. Is he like a rat? Like, is he a rat? Spiritually speaking? And it turned out that that was exactly what it was, because that's what narcissists do. And that's what people that want to take advantage of you and use you, that's what they do. They want to take your emotional gold, so to speak, because you actually can feel yourself. You can actually feel for yourself. And so these kinds of people are going to want to take from you something good to try to go off and see if there's something better. And then meanwhile, they don't find it. They try to come back to you. You shut the door. You say no. You just walk away. And now they're left with something worse because they couldn't show up in their relationship, in their part of their relationship with you. And this happens to people all the time. And it's really sad to see, but it's the truth. But anyways, guys, it was a pretty long day today. I had pretty much no time whatsoever. I was rushing to do things all day long. So for those that do have an understanding of when I usually put out my videos, I usually put out my videos like 3 hours or 4 hours before this. So I will try to continue in the future to set that consistency at a certain time, because I like to be consistent. I like to be able to ensure that I'm going to be a reliable source for you all that are watching this. And with that being said, peace be with you. Till next time.